The idea of artificial intelligence was first created by John McCarthy in 1956. After more than 60 years, AI has advanced greatly. Besides striving to become a world leader in artificial intelligence, China's AI industry attracts the most funding and provides training opportunities for AI engineers and innovators. Considering this, what are the breakthroughs in artificial intelligence thus far? How will AI change our life? And does it spell disaster for humanity? To discuss these issues and more, I'm very happy to be joined in the studio by James Ding, the Managing Director of GSR Ventures, and Dr. Zhang HONGJIANG, a venture partner of SOURCECODE Capital. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Ray. Gentlemen, AI technology is leading the fourth industrial revolution. How is China positioned to take advantage of this opportunity?
I think China is very well positioned to take this opportunity. If you look at it from the new development in AI, this new wave of AI, I would say there are three factors that are driving it. Number one is the big data. Number two is computing power, and then number three is the new algorithms. China has tremendous amount of data, especially generated from mobile applications. So I think China is very well positioned in that respect.
What do you think of the rich resources that China could leverage in undertaking sort of a corner overtaking? Okay, that's something scary for Americans.
I don't think we really need to call it like corner taking, and basically I think that the two countries can work together more than like competing, because AI is just a very very early stage, and it needs a lot of cooperations in both in algorithm, like in data, as well as in talents. So I think we will see that the two countries have a lot of common targets in areas such as medical science, healthcare, education. I would say like China can provide a great not only just the market, but also the data that required for advanced the algorithm, especially advanced the AI, especially in the deep learning sectors. So what we will see is we hope that more and more researchers and as well as companies will work together from both countries to advance the AI.
As I mentioned earlier in the opening remarks, HONGJIANG, the Chinese government provides the most funding, and there are more and more platforms, if not incubators. For example, the latest catalyst to fuel speculations about the Chinese input on the official level is the establishment of Beijing Academy of Artificial Intelligence, and it is reported that you're one of the leading members in putting this into practice. Tell us more about what does it mean?
Yeah, well, indeed, China has put in a lot of resources, not only from government sectors, but a lot of more is actually from private sectors, including James venture capital funds. We have invested tons of money into high tech, and especially AI startups. So that's a good thing to have, and many of those companies now has come out with product that are leading in terms of applications, in terms of technology. And I would say that in the AI area, the two fundamental factors to drive the success is number one is data, number two is talent. So China has a lot of data, and also China has a massive amount of well-trained AI talent.
But I'm afraid in terms of human resources, we are way behind the United States, which surpasses China by at least 800,000.
I'm not sure the numbers are right, but what I would like to say is that this particular announcement this morning on the Beijing Academy of Artificial Intelligence, one of the goals is to train more AI talent together with universities and private sectors and government sectors to pull out more training programs and to share more data. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add on top of what HONGJIANG said, is that the talents is not as big issue as the numbers show that many friends that said that when they go to AI conferences, the Chinese that presenting papers are unproportionately high among all these speakers from different countries. So actually, we will see that more, and not only the Chinese from China, but also there are lots of also Chinese researchers in the
HONGJIANG and
US.
James, people like you often visit the Silicon Valley in the United States, like Bob Xu, Kai Fu. These guys often go there and take a look at the latest developments in artificial intelligence. What impression could you bring back and brief us on in terms of a comparison between the progress the US has made? Everybody understands that the United States is way ahead of China in this area, but China is catching up very quickly. Do you think Silicon Valley in the United States provides China with a lot of inspirations, and also we can perhaps bring some of the talented professionals back from the Silicon Valley, because President Trump threatens to drive the talented Chinese professionals and engineers out of the high-tech area in the United States? Is that a blessing for the Chinese?
I would say yes, in a way that actually, what the current Trump administration trying to do is actually hurting the American research and AI, and in a way that helping other countries such as China to get all these talents back from the States. And also the recent shows that the applications, the new students' applications to these programs, to the top U.S. universities are dropping, which caused a lot of concerns from some of the top universities such as MIT or CMU or some others. So we'll see that kind of effect is going to be a long-term effect. But on the other hand, we still want to see that more and more exchange and cooperation between the two countries will keep the basically moving the AI and to advance the AI for the whole world.
To be honest, gentlemen, I don't care what's going to happen to the United States, since we're going to have more talented professionals, be they from Europe or North America. What I'm concerned, to be honest, is that I could be made redundant. I could lose my job. Look at what happened in Beijing last week. Xinhua News Agency launched an AI anchor presenting news reports. I mean, this means a lot for me. I'm really concerned. So what do you think of the possibility that in the near future I'm going to be replaced by a robot?
Well, I can assure you, for a long time you shouldn't worry, especially for this program. We'll all support you. And this is where idea get exchanged and idea gets sparked out.
By the way, in 5 years I'm going to retire anyway.
Right, but AI will replace many jobs, especially those repetitive jobs.
Repetitive jobs. For example?
For example, workers in the assembly line. That large part of that could be replaced by robots, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And but jobs like yours, creative jobs, what we say is the future belongs to creative smarts, and those jobs you will see more of them. That will never be replaced by machines.
Jack Ma made a lot of noises, but he fell silent at the ZHANG World Internet Conference for a reason you and me understand very well. Perhaps it's a political concern. Now, he said, since robots and artificial intelligence, since the robots which are fueled by artificial intelligence could be more reasonable, rational, calm, composed, therefore, the decisions that they make in launching wars could be far more devastating than politicians. Do you think he therefore said artificial intelligence is more likely to cause a third world war when we are commemorating the 100th anniversary of the First World War?
That's a very good question, actually. Yes and no. I don't think the current status of the AI progress has reached that part yet. So most of the AI are still being controlled by artificial intelligence, controlled by human, and so all these the scenarios that you're describing is not that urgent. But on the other hand, people, and especially a lot of experts in Army as well as in the university and research, that are really concerning this type of issues, and they're putting certain type of efforts on that. For example, like recently, Stanford started what they called human-centered AI research center, which put human in the middle, that to avoid, at least avoiding or slowing down or minimizing that kind of a scenario that the AI is going to take over that certain type of very critical controls.
Jack Ma used to be very optimistic in whatever presentations. But in the case of robots and artificial intelligence, he sounds pretty bizarre. He gave a lot of warnings. For example, he said 15 years ago he gave hundreds of speeches warning about the impact of e-commerce on traditional retailers, and few people listened because he wasn't as well known as he is now. So he is regarded as a god. Whatever he says represents the highest authority in the area of artificial intelligence. What do you think of his credibility?
I think, like what Jim said, it's going to be a long time before we start to worry about AI took over the control over a human, and there are a lot of jobs that will be reduced or replaced by AI. But I would say the broader application of AI could produce and create a lot more new jobs. And the key is that we have to identify areas we know they're going to be replaced in the long run by AI, and start to prepare for that. But I'm pretty optimistic. I'm very optimistic because you think about the computer revolution, the IT revolution that has been here for the last 50 years. Yes, it's replaced a lot of jobs. It's replaced typists, those who type using typewriters. But it created a lot of more jobs.
HONGJIANG and James, I'm happy about a program that thrives on the spectrum of diversified public opinions. You are optimistic, he is pessimistic. That forms a very good discussion about the future of AI. Having said this, Jack Ma, let me put in an essay. Let me quote Jack Ma as saying, social conflicts in the next 3 decades will have an impact on all sorts of industries and walks of life. He said, speaking at an entrepreneurship conference in China about the job disruptions that will be created by automation and the internet. Since we're getting old before we get rich, a lot more people will become pensioners, maybe 10 years from now in our country. Therefore, the creation of robots, artificial intelligence will make more people redundant. I mean, this is a very serious and realistic concern. Jack Ma, the guy who founded Alibaba Group, also echoed and repeated the same message of being pessimistic.
Actually, I echo some concerns that he has, that it's not just the AI that we should concern. Actually, for the last 10 to 15 years, there are research that shows that the technology actually already caused certain type of issues. For example, like the wealth divide and all other things, or the winner-takes-all effect is much, much bigger than the previously. So, and some of the professors, like MIT professor, already has some researches on it, and I think they're very, whether it's AI or not, we need to do something about it. So that's for sure. But AI itself, it doesn't cost this so significantly. It's actually, in my point of view, the AI's impact is less than the impact of internet, because internet is network effect is huge, and actually that spreading, for example, like winner-takes-all effect is much bigger and much more significant than the replacing the jobs.
One of the major challenges for the Chinese authorities at this moment when it comes to the sustainability of the Chinese economy is overcapacity. Now, quite a few years ago, the Chinese government at different levels invested heavily in the production of solar panels, and therefore we saw the bankruptcy of Wuxi in Jiangsu province. Is it likely that we're going to see a repeat of such overcapacity in the area of artificial intelligence? Hence the allegations from Li Kai-fu that we're going to see burst of bubbles in AI. Do you agree, James?
Yes and no, but in the long run, we'll see that the AI is critically important, that we will see that AI will impact every sector and it will be disruptive to every sector. But in the short term, the answer is yes. We do see some of the unrealistic expectation on the AI, unrealistic valuation of the project or the companies, and also there are very kind of not very well-informed or well-calculated investment or wise investment into the AI. So this big spending by the government, I think I'm a little bit concerned. But I would encourage some of the really the investment should go to wise people or the people that understand how to really use these researchers and apply this money wisely.
You are concerned, James. So is the White House. About 2025, President Xi Jinping makes it very clear in many of his policy speeches that AI is actually an important part of China's strategy, not only for the economy but for national security, for many reasons. And therefore, here is the sensitive issue about the relationship between the driving force of the market, the invisible hand, and the visible hand of the government. Concerning the prospects of artificial intelligence in this country, which one should play a more decisive role in shaping the roadmap of artificial intelligence?
Sorry, when you say which factor?
Government or marketplace, which one would play a more important role?
I would say for this type of very innovation-driven type of sectors, market should always play the most important roles. But of course, that government money is critical in supporting this type of sectors, but have to use it wisely. I would say I would really encourage China learn from the investment from the government investment in from the U.S. to the internet, for example. It's a very wise way to use that money to supporting the beginning, but let the market, almost like every project was done by either private researchers or private companies that contributing to and get the smartest people in a very fair mechanism, fair market competition, and move the AI, and not to the old state planning type of approach is definitely going to fail. Or even anything that's close to the current solar energy or new energy cars, that kind of approach, that's going to be a disaster for AI investment.
This is indeed a voice of reason. I hope the government will listen very carefully. Now, here are other hurdles that might get in the way in the development of AI in China. What about the legal issues, moral issues? For example, people get killed. Innocent people get killed in the roads by artificial cars.
Yeah.
Not artificial cars, but
autonomous cars.
Autonomous driving cars.
Autonomous driving cars. So self-driving cars. What do you think of such moral and legal issues?
Yeah, I think before the autonomous driving cars hit the road in large scale, there will be effort that take place to set up new laws and to set up new rules and actually to rebuild the infrastructure so that to avoid those casualties. But all the good news is that from what we have heard is the advance in autonomous driving has been very rapid, and the safety has been putting in the first place. And the percentage of the probability of hitting a pedestrian or the fatal accident is actually could be smaller than today, than the cars being driven by human. So I think that's should always be the first priority. Should be the consideration before we actually allow the autonomous driving cars on the road in large scale.
That's good news. Very encouraging blessing for many male drivers who prefer to drink and drive. They won't be afraid of their license being taken away by cops.
Well, it could be a detector that's if it smells you're drunk, it will stop you from driving at all.
Yeah. Even if it's there are certain technologies already applied, even without the autonomous driving, and the car will probably sense you're drunk, then they stop listening.
Perhaps what you guys said could be true. Yet we need more legislation.
True.
And education, of course, about this issue. Now, China is a labor-intensive economy. In the foreseeable future, we wouldn't be able to have a large amount of robots replacing the assembly line and the human assembly line. Therefore, do you think we have to be very careful in introducing artificial intelligence?
Actually, when China is upgrading its economy, especially upgrading its manufacturing sectors, you see that China take a lot of effort, companies take a lot of effort to upgrade its capacity, upgrade its efficiency. And given what we see now, that you see more and more aging population in China, and companies start to feel shortage of young, effective laborers across China. Actually, the companies now are eager to have more robots, not only just because they could be cheaper, more effective, but really because they can't hire that many well-trained laborers.
And also, I'd like to add that another very big potential application of AI is in the service industry, such as the healthcare, senior care, all these areas. Actually, we need a lot of, in a shortage of a lot of service people in that regard, especially when the aging problem shows, you're actually going to have a big problem of service people serving these senior people. Japan is already having that kind of problem.
That's exactly my next question.
Yeah, so we will see that actually China is lucky enough to have robots and AI to take over some of the labors.
Perhaps Japan, in our immediate neighborhood, is one such aspirational example because of the aging population there and the use of robots for the assembly lines. Do you think we have a lot more to learn from Japan?
Yeah, actually, in my point of view, that Japan is ahead of us in the area of industrial robotics. But unfortunately, those areas are a little bit different from the current breakthrough in AI, which is deep learning. So they need a lot to catch up as well. So we, on the one hand, we need to learn from them, but on the other hand, our AI and our deep learning type of skill set is actually much more advanced than them. We are only kind of in par with US, but way ahead of Japan. So I think the two countries may be able to find each other to work and cooperate with each other.
China definitely has a much larger and talent base of well-trained artificial intelligence talent. And also in the mobile internet areas, you see a lot more active activities in China, and companies like ByteDance, like Baidu, like Meituan, how they use AI in their daily operations, in their daily services. All those are very encouraging. I think that's something Japan and China could cooperate, and actually in this respect, China is more advanced.
Good news is that the latest official visit, the first of its kind since 8 years ago, by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, may have laid the groundwork for improving such a cooperation in the two countries, the second and the third biggest economy. Let's look at the issue of privacy. Now, with the boom of e-commerce as well as the surge in the number of mobile users and netizens in China, we have a big market for online payment. And the Chinese government gave unprecedented attention to, for example, the deployment of hidden cameras, CCTV cameras, due to the development of facial recognition. Now, foreigners in the West are seriously concerned. They have actually been alarmed by the massive number of hidden cameras using the technology of the face recognition. But the West, they are very careful. Look at what happened in the congressional policy hearings. Number of them. I mean, they are very concerned about the protection of privacy. So what do you think of the sharp contrast, James, between the West and China on the issue of protection of privacy?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. Actually, this is also a very urgent question. But I think on the camera issues that I don't quite agree that China is that big difference, because I know in the U.S. or even like in UK or some European countries, they have much more intensive camera coverage because of the concerns of terrorism and other issues. So, but the things you're right, the privacy issue and the data protection on the legislation side, China is sort of behind. And Europe is the most advanced in that regard. U.S. is second, and China is probably a little bit behind. But that presents some good and bad things. The good things that if you, by carefully working on certain type of legislations, it allows the researchers are more flexible and have a more chance and a bigger time window to find out what exactly the issues are and solve the issue in a more precise way to solve it, not trying to slow down the technology development. But on the other hand, for example, the current European GDPR kind of approach, also welcomed by the citizens on the same time, but really caused concerns by the industry that whether this type of rules will be slowing down the industry development. So it's a kind of double-edged sword.
Yeah, I totally agree with James. And the good news in China is actually the mobile apps. That has pushed a lot of technology advancement, a lot of innovation. And that, of course, it's generated a lot of data, and the privacy is a concern. But since the penetration of mobile internet now is so deep, and people already started to look into the private issues, and our rules start taking place. I think that it's in the coming years you will see more and more effort in this respect in China.
A few years ago, the revelations by Edward Snowden and Julian Assange of WikiLeaks both alarmed the whole world. They might be called the wake-up call about the privacy, and governments in the West also fell victim to such revelations. What message did the two events deliver to both of you, James?
Well, I think we should limit the government's power in getting all the data. That's the number one lesson I think all the citizens are learning. Right. So I think we should have legislations that even the government or any other agencies or any other entities in the society that need to be very careful how we can grant rights to them to get access to our data. That's, I think, that a lot of countries kind of learned in the hard way how these data can be abused.
Yes, indeed. Whether we are ready and prepared to have the advent of artificial intelligence largely depends on legislation and morality. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Dialogue with James, Ding, and HONGJIANG, a scientist in the area of artificial intelligence. I will see you next time. Until then, goodbye.